Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Check. Bruce.
Lionel.
Bruce. Paging Bruce the mail.
Lionel.
Paging Bruce the mailboy.
There you go.
So
What's up?
We're gonna do a recording.
Oh, really?
But I've already done it once.
I sense there was a disturbance in the force.
Well, there was a disturbance in the new software. And I got no problem admitting that this new software, so I'm about to take my own life because of it.
It's driving you up the wall. You've had a few issues with it.
Yeah. And the worst part is, I think it actually works better, but it's slowly driving me crazy.
It works better. You just can't get it working.
Yeah. Yeah, it works better, but I can't get it working. Exactly. This car goes a lot faster.
That's the story of our lives, isn't it? It works great, but we can't get it working. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
a needle pulling thread.
Yeah. So today is January the 27th.
Okay.
And the reason we're recording this now, or we're broadcasting this now, is because Paul contacted me through email and wanted to know if he could come on the podcast to promote his RPM, which I said,
very good.
I said, sure, come on. And then I said, sure, anytime, blah, 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 let me know. And that was the last I heard of him for like 3 months.
Uh-huh.
And then he sent me another email. He said, well, it's probably too late now, but I was moving, got a new job, yada, yada, yada. And I said, no. I said, when do you need? And I said, okay, well, come on in. And plenty of time. That was 2 weeks ago that we were that was like 2 weeks from when we're recording it ago. And I don't know, it's plenty of time. And it was a great podcast. Enjoyed myself. Enjoyed talking to Paul. And then I discovered that the software was acting goofy. And so
I hate it when that happens.
And so then Paul was concerned that there wouldn't be enough time. And I said, no, we can make this work. I'll get my best man on it, Bruce the mailboy. And we will make
our best man.
Our best man.
We're in trouble if I'm your best man.
Yeah. And so this is about... We'll have Paul explain it a little better. But you'd think by now we'd be more professional, don't you? But
10 years? We're just getting worked into it. Just finding our way, feeling it out.
Yeah, but then we'd lose our charm.
That's it. Our folksy down-home feel.
Yeah, our folksy down-home feel.
Look at them goobers talking on the radio again.
Although something else happened. I was editing another podcast, and I had my microphone was wrong. I had too much overmodulation, and I'm like, oh my God, like how is this possible? I had it working so well. And I went to I found a YouTube video about how to correct the overmodulation on the software I use. And after the the minute and a half introduction, I know. Don't you hate that? Hello, everybody.
Today, Mom and I are going to show you how to go to the garage and install the lifters on the 59 Chevy. But before we do that, we'll talk about our favorite recipes and down to the gas station what the roller dogs are doing.
Yeah. This one was, hello, everybody. This is another in the series of how to use this particular software. And I know everybody will really like this. This happened to me when I was doing a recording about, fish in a puddle. And then I understood, and I'm like 3 minutes in, and I'm like, can we get to the, although this guy actually had useful information.
Oh, there you go.
So then I
was just thinking roller dogs would be a great name for a hockey team.
Wouldn't it, though? Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to one of your favorite. We're going to get to a chance for you to talk about one of your favorite AHL hockey teams.
Oh, I'm guessing.
Not yet.
I think I know what it is.
Okay, Paul, come on into the studio.
Good thing I stayed and sampled the shrimp after the last interview.
Yeah,
Attaboy.
exactly. Yeah, we were kind of shocked.
What's the fastest shrimp for the holiday season? Is it still nice bright green, or is it starting to fade?
It was little red splotches on it, so I thought that was just part of the charm.
There you go. Exactly.
Ooh, not sure what that's all about.
I'm not sure if you heard my introduction, Paul. It was long and it was long-winded and kind of boring, but I was trying to explain how you guys are doing an RPM, and then you wanted to come on, and then you disappeared. Why did you disappear for 3 months? You moved or something?
Yeah, moving for a new role within the company, and it turned into a 4-month-long process.
Yeah, because you moved from Asheville, North Carolina,
to Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, getting a house ready to sell, putting it on the market, selling it, and moving entirely too much junk takes a lot of time.
And how old of a man are you now?
34.
I have lived in the same house now I built this house, and I've lived in the same house now for almost 40 years. And
I intended to stay in that house for a very long time, but they gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, so they talked me out of it.
Right. Well, so over the last few years, I've started to realize I'm not going to ever go to an old age home because I couldn't ever move all this crap. I think I better die and let my son have to deal with it.
There you go.
40 years worth of crap is a lot of crap. And let me fill you in on a little life secret. And Bruce, you might be interested in this one too.
Okay.
And this is not boasting. This is just a fact of life that I've discovered. When you've lived in one house for 40 years and you have a house full of crap, one thing you absolutely should not do is buy another house and live in it for 15 years and fill it up with crap. Because now what you have, you get
loads of crap.
Yeah, now you got 2 house loads of crap. And somebody's going to have to wade through all this crap. And I don't feel like giving my stuff away because then it makes me feel old before my time. And, so there's that to it too.
And you never know when you might need the crap, so you got to hold on to it.
Isn't that? Yeah, that's that was one of the things I was very adamant with my son when he was a young man, a young boy, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was like, we don't break our toys in this house because you never know when you want them again. And he discovered that he had tons of Transformers and tons of Matchbox cars and all sorts of really cool stuff. And that's because we didn't break everything. But the downside of that is Dad has way more stuff than he possibly needs.
Mm-hmm.
Why does one man need 2 motorcycles and three engines?
One for each home and a spare.
Yeah.
But where do you keep the spare?
Well, exactly. I don't consider either.
Decision.
Sometimes you have to get another engine so you have a spare in each location.
Yeah. See, I don't consider either motorcycle to be a spare, and the engine that I bought some 8, 9, 10 years ago, I don't consider it to be a spare because I love to tinker with it, and every once in a while I exchange one engine for another engine, and so it is technically a spare. But in my world, it's just a really cool thing to have.
Yeah.
So
it's an expensive toy to tinker with.
Yeah, actually, a stock Harley motor, if you buy them used, it's not that. It was like I think I paid $1,500 for the motor, and it had like 40,000 miles.
What size is it?
It was the 1596, and it had like 40,000 miles on it, and I had a great time taking it apart, putting in new cams and all that stuff. But enough about me.
Oh, the podcast is not about you?
No, we're 9 minutes in, and it's we've been talking about everything in life.
Well, it's kind of like the interest to those YouTube things. We haven't got to the meat of the subject yet.
Yeah, that's
come on.
We're complaining about everybody else. So Paul, you lived in Asheville, and you told me you weren't affected by all the floods. You were managed to be up on the hillside somewhere.
Yeah, my house was sufficiently high over any water that no major concerns. I mean, we got a little tiny puddle in the basement from, simply amount of rain overwhelming our French drain. But we got out pretty lucky compared to a lot of people. Lots of devastation, and Asheville was the true just destruction. We lived one county to the west, and our river just gently rose and flooded out a lot of stuff, but they were raging rivers over in Asheville, and that did all the major damage over there.
And the people, had you sold your house before the rains came?
No, we were actually going to put it on the market a few days into October, and then the hurricane, did all the destruction. And my realtor called me, I think 2 days later, and said, "Yeah, we're not going to be able to list it on schedule." So I kind of figured that we're going to just adapt and overcome whatever comes our way. And I think we ended up listing it about a month and a half later than planned, but we were just thankful that there was no concerns to damage wise or anything like that.
And once again, we want to give a big shout out to our very own table master, Scott, the table master lister, who at his own expense took a lot of his construction equipment up to, he lived in about 30 miles south of Hendersonville, and he took some of his construction equipment up to Hendersonville and helped a lot of people try to get their lives back in order. And he spent several days doing that. So a big shout out to our buddy Scott.
Absolutely. Indeed. That was one of the just most amazing things, seeing people from all over the country just show up just out of the blue. I mean, no planning, on any like organizational level, just people came, chainsaws, tractors, whatever they had to help out, and just hit the ground running, doing whatever they could to make lives better. A lot of people have small bridges over, creeks and rivers to get to their house, which washed away, and they couldn't even get to their homes or were stuck. People showed up with stuff to repair that or rebuild them completely. And a lot of places, the local farmers or whoever that had the bigger tractors and machinery just took them out to the roads and started rebuilding roads before the government even had a chance to even think about it. And they're like, "We got things to do. We can't wait on y'all."
Yeah, just fabulous the way people came together. And I hope they're doing that out. I hope there's not too many AML. I hope there's not too many AML folks, or any folks for that matter. The devastation out now in California is horrible. So it's just like one thing after another. And now you guys want to have an RPM meet.
We do indeed.
So this is what you guys are doing is you're moving the Savannah RPM meet to Macon, Georgia.
That is correct. We kind of got run out of town by pricing. The post-COVID hotel costs and associated other costs that are involved with putting on an event like this kept going up, and there was no end in sight. And most of our what we consider our core regulars were kind of saying that they might not be able to make it if the prices continued to be where they are or go higher. And once we realized that wasn't going to change, we made the decision to move it to Macon, where prices are much more reasonable because it's not a coastal city with some major attractions compared to Savannah, but significantly cheaper hotels, and we got a pretty good venue out of it. So we're very happy with our first year in Macon, and looking forward to this year to grow it even more.
How many guys did you have last year?
So last year we had 75 people through the door that we counted. We think we might have missed one or two, and that was well over our expectations for the first year in a new city.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you guys, your guys' expectations were, I mean, this sounds rude, but it's not intended to sound rude, but it kind of sounds rude. It sounds like, it seems to me like you guys' expectations were pretty low. Only, you were only 75 people. I mean, I thought the Savannah RPM though was pretty, a pretty hip and happening RPM. Like, it's been around for years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been around since 1999 in one form or another. We've been in, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 different locations in Savannah or the immediately surrounding towns. But to my knowledge, the height of the Savannah RPM, we were pulling about 75 people at that time as well. So it was never meant to be a huge show. The founder, he liked to keep it small and just lots of just people sitting around talking, and he didn't really advertise or push to make it bigger. And once he stepped aside for health reasons, and the three of us that took it over, started that, leadership on it. We like, let's get this thing bigger. But then COVID happened, kind of ruined that initially, and we just didn't know with Macon. We, everybody had that, the Savannah RPM, and it's like, okay, what's this Macon thing? Do we want to go to that? It's new, but it really wasn't new, just a new location. And we didn't advertise nearly as heavily last year as we're doing this year. And we found a lot of people that just didn't know anything about either Macon or Savannah. So we know that there's people out there that, are interested. We just didn't know how to reach them.
I think this hobby, you've probably heard me say it before, but I think this hobby is way bigger than anybody realizes. And I think just the mere fact that you're talking about it and doing a little bit more advertising and getting out there a bit more, I think you're going to be amazed at, the number of people that eventually start showing up to this thing. Because
we hope so. We got a nice big venue to fill. So let's hope that we can fill it up pretty good this year.
And you got a major north-south highway that goes right through Macon, a highway, Interstate 75.
Yeah, we kind of expected that we were going to get a lot more interest out of the Atlanta area in particular, but also Birmingham. It puts it into a comfortable day trip range for those two cities compared to Savannah. I mean, an extra 3 hours away kind of ruins it for Birmingham for sure. And a lot of the Atlanta crowd likes to come down for a day trip. Is what we kind of got the impression.
Yeah, it's not very far from Birmingham for sure. It's like, maybe 2.5 hours from Birmingham to Macon?
I'm honestly not sure off the top of my head what that travel time is, but it's definitely not terrible.
Okay, well, before we have you on again next year when we're doing the pre-show interview for next year, I want you to do some driving around and measuring some distances and things so people know exactly what they're dealing with.
According to Google, most direct route is I-20 east and I-75 south for 3 hours and 26 minutes.
Okay, there you go. It's 3 hours and 26 minutes. Bruce?
Yes.
Do you think at the Macon, the Central Georgia RPM, they'll have any Rapido trains?
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
How many models do you think you had last year? So you guys never missed. I'm sorry, but you guys never missed a year from the Savannah one. You just carried on. Like when the fella that was running it passed away, you guys jumped in and carried on, and you've never missed a year, correct?
So I can only speak to about the last half of the history of the Savannah RPM, but I do know we missed 1 year with COVID, and then I'm pretty sure that when Bob Harp is the original founder of this, he had a health scare, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And I think we skipped 1 year because of that. And then that was when he started the, hey, I'm going to let this thing just kind of, fizzle out here. We've had a good run and it's time to end this story. But we were like, no, it's not over yet. We got to keep this going. So as far as I know, it's only been 2 years since 1999 that we haven't had some form of this event.
Right. Yeah. And it's you. Who's the three fellas? It's you, Paul Spilman is you, and
Stephen Floyd and Ken Preston are the other two organizers. Ken has been the longest attending member of the event that we're aware of, other than Bob. I think he went to the second one, has been there every year since then. And Stephen joined us, I think, about 10 or probably 12 years ago now. And then I've been going on and off since probably 2007.
Okay. Wow. And when did you start getting involved in the actual running of this thing?
As far as like running in official capacity, it was 2 years ago when we first made the decision to move to Macon. But I've been involved in some form since I started going. Ken was one of Bob's good friends and helped significantly with the show. Every year we actually used to have to set up a clinic room in a gym using curtains and stands to just divide the space, just because it was a gym for many years, and that's all it was. We had no breakout rooms, so Ken would bring this trailer full of stuff, and I'd help set it up. And we had layout many years that I would help set up, and just grew from there. Where I just got more and more involved with the show.
So the show is on March 28th and 29th. Today is January the 27th. So there's March 28th, 29th. Can people sign up online?
We don't do early sign up. We pretty much just cash at the door or credit card at the door. We don't really do any kind of pre-registration. It's never really been needed. We do sometimes do a announcement like, hey, if you know you're coming, email Ken and we'll get a name badge printed for you ahead of time, but we don't take money in advance.
And what do you charge for entry?
So we're most likely going to keep the same door or price for the door for this year. It's $30 for both days, $20 for one day, either Friday or Saturday, your pick. And youth can get in for both days for $20.
That's incredibly reasonable.
It is.
I mean, and I understand you guys aren't doing this to make money. You guys are doing this because, number one, you want to keep the Savannah RPM going, and number two, you guys just like being involved and making the connection and having the thing keep going.
Yeah, right? We've never been in this for money. There's been a couple times when we've considered raising the price, and mostly in reference to, hey, we probably need our own projector. Well, the new venue includes projectors. So I mean, it's like, okay, we don't need to raise the price anymore. So we don't want to price it too high and lose interest. We'd rather somebody come, $30. We can't really see where anybody can argue with that price for a 2-day event. I mean, I've been to quite a few others with much higher entry prices. So this is definitely a budget-friendly event. Yeah,
definitely a budget-friendly event. But I think you guys should, this is my own personal opinion, but you guys seem quite capable. So I think you guys should try to make this thing grow. And if you do have to put the price up, that's not going to be the end of the world. Didn't you were just at the Cocoa Beach one a couple of weeks ago, were you not?
Yes, I was.
Your Cocoa Beach RPM, and that's very well attended. Do you know how many people they had?
This year was a little down because of the winter weather that was, messing up travel for a lot of the country. I don't know that I heard a final number, but I think they were kind of wondering if they were going to break 200 this year. I know I was registrant number 179, I think, and that was showing up a little late at the registration table because they put me at a 9 a.m. clinic, and I had to rush in there straight to the clinic room.
What was your clinic about?
I've been doing a clinic called Showing It's the 70s about the stenciling on freight cars in the 70s, like the consolidated stencil, U1 wheel dots, ACI labels, things like that.
Do you know what he's talking about, Bruce?
I do.
Oh, okay. Well, then you guys can have a very good conversation about it.
The ACI labels are like those various colored car codes that were put into theoretically make it more efficient for sorting cars in yards and stuff. And they found out that after a while they got dirty and the readers couldn't read them. And then the other codes are those dots that go on the side of the car to show that they are current on certain hardware that need to be on the car.
They're more they're rectangle, right, up and down, like they're like 3 inches wide.
ACI labels, yeah,
like 3 inches wide, and
it's the very colorful barcode.
Yeah,
yes.
And how did you get interested in that?
So I modeled the 70s, and I, being somebody that's 34, I was not around then to see it firsthand. So seeing pictures, it's like, okay, I need to know how to put this on, my cars. And that started my own personal research project, which then turned into a clinic. I forget if I was originally doing this one for the RPM last year, but that was the first place I did it. But I always try to do one clinic for the RPM just to, fill in a slot there.
Yeah, but you how did you get interested in that, though? You modeled the 70s. I mean, that seems pretty obscure.
Well, it is kind of a roundabout way because, if you go with the traditional, you model what you saw growing up, I'd be modeling, some what I call ugly NS wide cab locomotives. But I just grew fascinated with Southern in the 70s with the tuxedo paint scheme and long hood forward operation. And once I found out about Saluda, it was like, that's it. I'm modeling Saluda.
So that's what I'm fascinated by Saluda grade. Our friend Derek Blackgrove made a great video about that, and there's 2 or 3 great videos. There's one made by Norfolk Southern, I think, and one by the Southern, some old video by the Southern, and the Saluda grade. Oh my God, that's unbelievably fascinating.
Yeah, the operations on it are just mind blowing, just because of all that's involved with it and the safety measures in place, things like that. So, and then that was my original, like, hey, I'm going to model Saluda. But then as I started learning more about the area, the Murphy branch kept popping up. It's like, this is interesting. Let me find out more about it. And then it's like, okay, it's pretty close to Saluda. Asheville is in between. So my intention is to model Asheville and then 2 lines going out each way, with Murphy branch on one end, Saluda on the other.
Bruce, do you think Rapido trains?
Your fast track to model railroading fun?
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
Could have made it up the Saluda grade?
Well, I'm sure they would have managed to do it somehow.
That would be pretty cool at some point if you laid out a whole the HO track all the way up the Saluda grade and see how many cars you could pull up at an HO gauge with HO Rapido HO gauge engines, locomotives. What's Murphy's branch?
So Murphy branch is what I call a mainline branch line. It went off to Murphy, North Carolina. One time largest customer on the entire Southern was there in about 30 miles in at Canton, where they had the Champion paper mill. And so it was a big timber products line with pulpwood, wood chips, lumber, furniture, stuff like that. And it was a very, very busy branch line with 50 car trains 2 or 3 times a day between Asheville and Canton, and then your more traditional branch line locals past that.
And okay, so the Murphy branch is a branch line operated by the Western North Carolina Railroad, then the Richmond and Danville, then finally the Southern. And the Southern Railroad is cool. The Southern Railroad is cool. It's one of the cooler railroads from the 60s. It just had a lot of character.
The rat hole line and all sorts of different things. It's a fascinating. I always enjoyed reading about them in the Trains magazine, or Model Railroader had a article on it. It was just a fascinating bit of railroading.
Yeah. So how long is the Murphy branch?
114 miles.
There's grades on the Murphy branch exceed 4% in 2 places. Was the Saluda grade on the Murphy branch?
No, Saluda grade is on the W line south of Asheville. Murphy branch goes to the west.
Okay, and so not only was there, because I think the steepest that Saluda gets to is like 4.8. I think, I'm not sure if it
5.6% is the steepest on Saluda. And wow. That's a pretty short segment. It's not like a consistently long part. 4.7% is what many people call the average grade. On the Murphy branch, there's 2 grades: red marble, which is about 4%, and then I'm sorry, I misspoke. The red marble grade is about 6%. Balsam is about 4%.
So now, when you were in Asheville, had you made a start on this particular layout?
I had started a home for it. The reason I bought my house was for the 1,800 square foot wide open basement. Right. And with meeting my wife, having a kid, and it just never worked out to actually start the layout construction. But that was the goal there, was to use about 2/3 of that space for the layout. And I had envisioned a Nolix design, the helix all the way around the walls instead of going off into a tunnel and disappearing for an hour, style with 3 decks to cover everything.
So now, were you able to purchase a new home, or did you have to jump in and rent something because it was kind of the company wants you to move and you had to kind of pick up your sticks and get hustling?
So,
hang on, that's a personal question, so you don't have to answer it if you don't want.
Oh, not a problem. We didn't know the area. I mean, I've worked for this company for almost 9 years and have been down for, numerous times to, go to meetings and stuff like that. But it's always come in the same route, go to the same place, go to the hotel, go home. So I never really learned anything about Columbia. And we talked about it. It's like, I don't want to, commit to buying a house day one, almost sight unseen. Because, I mean, it'd be a really tight window to sell and buy and move all at the same time. And so we just decided that we were going to, take a break from home ownership for a year or so, rent a house, and just let the proceeds from our house sale sit in a savings account, get a few more dollars out of it. And then once we've learned the area, and also my wife's a teacher, so, needed to get her lined up with a job at one of the schools, and, kind of see where that directed us to, what area we should be in. Because Columbia is a decently sized city, so lots of options on, what side of town or what area is, best suited.
I drive through Columbia on a regular basis on my way to Florida. Or Columbia, Georgia, right? Or what am
Columbia,
I
South Carolina.
Columbia, South Carolina. That's where I go. Yeah. Where am I talking? Let me hang on here. Let me look at the map. Yeah, Columbia, South Carolina. So I drive through. Yeah, Interstate 20, blah blah blah, and I'm on 77 when I go through. Once you purchase a place, can I stay overnight at your place? Save me renting a room.
Tell you what, you give me a call, I will make that happen.
Trust me, you don't want me hanging out. You don't want me hanging out here. That'll bring your property value down. The problem is, me walking around the house in my slippers and pajamas. That's not. You don't want any part of that. You want to stay married, for crying out loud. Columbia is a good location. It's a nice town. It's a growing town. Yeah, it'll be cool to have you. And there's lots of different areas out there, and yeah, that'd be fun for you to kind of.
The only major negative I've run across, other than the heat and humidity, is they don't have basements down here. So I'm going to have to figure out somewhere else to put a layout.
Yeah, that's very strange that they don't have basements. But I came up with a theory on the podcast at some point. Anything north of the Mason-Dixon line, you have to have a basement, and anything south of that, it's everybody. Yeah, they don't have basements down there, so you're going to have to. That's throwing you a real curve.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find either something, a house that's already built with enough property to put an outbuilding on, like a garage style deal. Maybe 20 by 30 or so would be perfect. And if not, just maybe get us a lot and build on it. And I've also considered, one of those attached garages with like the mother-in-law suite over.
Oh yeah.
Kind of could do that style with the layout over the garage.
Or yeah, if you could find a lot, you could even build your house. I hate, Bruce, when I do
what's that? When
I do these podcasts. I'm sorry, Paul. I'm gonna have to do some podcasting business.
Go for it.
Oftentimes, Bruce, when we do these podcasts,
yes,
our friend Mr. Jingles,
yes,
will show up and just be silent.
Yes,
and I can't stand that. It's kind of like, what do I have to guess that you're here or whatever? You've walked into the studio. First off, they've just completely ignored the big red sign on the door outside the studio that says record.
On the air, keep out. This means you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it does say keep out. It says on the air.
All right.
Oh, no, if you look close, it says keep out.
Were you going
to... You were just rushing in to get in so fast, you disregarded all the signage.
Yeah, we told you we were starting at 8:30. Where you been?
I've been doing physical therapy on my shoulder. Getting ready for Springfield.
Getting ready for dishing out cheese balls.
Yeah.
Which was actually just this past weekend.
Yeah.
It was. Because today's January the 27th. We're all on our way home now.
Yeah.
It was a roaring success. Once again, Brad, the professor, was walking around this year. At least this year, he would walk. He didn't automatically take off his shirt, but he kept walking up to people going, "Hey, you want me to take off my shirt?"
I thought he had it rolled up,
Yeah, he had it rolled up and tied in a knot at halfway up his stomach. Yeah, that's what it was. Would you like me to fill you in, Kelly, on what's happening now that you've managed to take time out of your busy schedule to join us?
Hey, my shoulder's been hurting, and I had to deal with it. So,
I understand that.
sorry.
Here, I'll fill you in quickly, Kelly. We've been talking to Paul,
Yeah, I
and
know.
then you showed up.
I'm sorry. That's why I kept quiet, because I didn't want to say anything, because you guys are having a very good
How many
conversation.
times do I have to tell you guys, when you come into the studio, don't be quiet. Let me know that you're here.
Bang the door, fall over, do something.
You know what? Next time I'll bang my microphone. Perfect.
We
There
already
you go.
did that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Paul, that you have to be part of our family
Glad
squabbles.
you're part of the family squabble.
So I heard the conversation, and I would like to make a recommendation for Paul that he do not include stairs, because as
No
you get
stairs.
older,
Yep.
going up and down stairs gets a little more difficult, and also people who come to see the layout, it opens
Yes,
it up more to
that's
other people.
definitely a good consideration.
If you do one of those you do one of those garages, you put the garage on the top and the layout on the bottom.
that's a great plan.
Or get one of those acorn stair lifts to trundle you up and down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's good. You know what? You know who you should talk to is our very own Queso Cowboy, because he built a pole barn to house his model railroad. What is it, like 20?
You got it. You got
by
it.
30 something, 20 something by 30 something.
23? Was it 23 by
I don't know.
30 or 32?
I think I don't know. I forget. But here's a little tip: make sure the door swings out, not in.
Yeah.
And leave room for a crew lounge. And
Definitely.
And leave room for a dispatcher, and think about where you're going to put the fuse box, where all that stuff's going to go.
Yeah, and a heater and everything else.
Yeah, we'll get Queso to come down there. Actually, you can visit Queso and then just don't do what he did.
Yeah.
I'll make lots of notes if I ever visit.
If the door opens out, make sure you put a peephole on it so you can see who you're going to hit when you open the door.
All right, let's get back to some serious business. I'm not that happy. I am not that happy with your website about this. I feel like you guys are trying to keep people from showing up. I want you guys to be a little more positive about this thing. I want you guys to be like jumping in there and going, like you're winning you're going to a big college bowl game and you guys can win this, because you don't have clinics listed on your website.
Yeah, we've have received a few questions regarding what the clinic lineup was going to be, and unfortunately, the answer is still to be determined. I know we've got commitments from 5 or 6 out of the 10 slots filled. We just don't have the clinic titles. We don't have the time slots, all arranged. So I'm not in charge of clinics, so I'll have to defer that to the person in charge of clinics. I'm just in charge of the website.
Well, if you're in charge of the website, list the clinics.
Well, Lionel, would you like to come down and give a clinic?
I'd love to, except I can't walk but 3 feet. So there you go. Until we fix that problem, I can't do anything. But last year you had Tom Klomoski doing a clinic, so you should get him back.
I'm pretty sure he has been asked. I don't know the answer as of yet, but I know he was very pleased with the event last year, and we hope he's coming again this year.
You know that the RPM is only 2 months away, right?
Yeah, it's getting close, isn't it?
Yeah. Pitter patter, boys. Time to get the lead out. We're running out of time here. We're behind 4-2, and we're game's winding down. The game clock's winding down here. Time to get her done.
Well, luckily, I got some good teammates. They come through and pinch for the RPM every year, so I don't think it'll be an issue, but it does get down to the wire sometimes.
So this year, the new location for this year is the Lundy Chapel Church at 2081 Forest Hill Road in Macon, Georgia. Speaking of Macon, Georgia, Bruce?
Yes.
Let's see. Hang on. Don't tell me. What did I do? I must have got rid of it. From 1996.
Got rid of your notes?
From 1996 until 2001.
Yes.
There was a team, a Central Hockey League team in Macon.
Yes, there was.
And do you know what they were called?
And had one of the greatest team names ever, besides the Roller Dogs, as we discussed, the Macon Whoopie.
Yeah, and they're also known as the Whoopies.
Yes,
they were only there. What a great! How did they not last but 5 years?
I have no idea, but
That's surprising. Growing up in Macon, I really felt like they had been there forever.
And you're from Macon originally?
Yes, I grew up in Macon and only moved away in 2017.
Is that
Well,
part
there
of the
you go.
reason how you ended up with RPM back in Macon? Like, what was the process? Like, why did you guys pick Macon as opposed to Columbia or several other places you could have chosen? Why? What was the process?
Stephen and Ken currently live in Macon, so that was probably a very big factor in it. And we also looked at, what is the average hotel cost? That was probably the biggest complaint with Savannah. And so Macon has a fairly low hotel cost, compared to larger towns. Like if we'd gone towards Atlanta or towards Columbus or, anything like that, it was kind of the most cost effective place, ignoring the convenience factor of, living there.
But with any kind of luck, if you guys work at this over the next few years, I mean, you could really turn this into something because you got Atlanta. Atlanta can't be more than about an hour and a half up the street.
Yeah, hour and a half away to Atlanta, and that was one of our bigger outreaches with advertising this between last year and this year. We took a lot of flyers up to the hobby shops there, and trying to spread the word. And we did get plenty of people from Atlanta to come down, and the general consensus was, "Wow, we didn't know what to expect, but we'll definitely be back next year, and we'll tell our buddies." So we're hoping that comes through for us.
Now I'm imagining there's a whole bunch of people in Atlanta going, "Oh yeah, let's get back to that RPM in Macon. I wonder what the clinics are." Oh, they're not listed yet.
Well, we will be sending out updates as that gets solidified here the next few weeks, hopefully, with plenty of time to spare to make your decision if the clinic lineup is going to be a make or break decision. But we really think most people are coming for the models and the camaraderie.
How many models? Do you know how many models you had last year?
We had over 425 models on display last year.
wow.
Holy mackerel! And you say you had 75 people, but you had 425
Yep.
models. Wow.
We have always been a very model heavy RPM. I mean, that's the way it was, originally set up. Bob wanted just an event for people to, sit down at the table and just show their work, whether it was finished or not, and just talk about it. How did you do this? What was the the trick you used, or what was your starting model, and all that kind of stuff is what he wanted to know. And so we always have done the standard height tables with lots of chairs around them, and most of our regular attendees, they just make a little route through the tables, just moving table to table, talking to the modeler if they're nearby, which they generally are, just going over what everybody can learn. I mean, that's the thing, what can I learn off of what you did?
The RPM that I have the most experience with is the Northeast Regional, or the New England RPM meet, also known as NERPM. Excuse me. And that's the one thing that I find to be the most attractive about RPMs is just this kind of camaraderie of talking to people about what they're modeling and looking at what they're doing. And it sounds like that's what you guys are concentrating on the most.
Yeah, we've never really wanted to have too much of a distraction away from that core premise. We don't have 10 clinics an hour. We don't have 30 vendors to go shopping. We want people in the model display area.
What about rail fanning in this area?
Take your pick. There's lots of places. One of Norfolk Southern's major hump yards is there in Macon, and there's lines. Let's see, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different lines for NS going out, and then the Genesee and Wyoming short line, Georgia Central, also has a line.
I know, it's kind of like crazy the amount of railroading there is in this area. It's like crazy.
Yeah, we like with everything else, train counts are down. I remember before I moved away, I mean, you'd sit down there and there'd be just train after train after train, multiple per hour. I know it's slowed down some, but I know last year we put a little quick rail fanning guide together, like, hey, go here, and actually took a couple people on tours of the area the day before the RPM, just showing them, the hot spots.
Right. Any thoughts about that'd be a great clinic just about the hot spots in the rail fanning in the Macon area?
We actually have a potential clinic on a similar topic about the yard itself. So we're hoping that one comes through.
Kelly, can I ask? Kelly, go. You got a question? Go ahead.
Are you looking at layout tours or operations?
So last year we did both last year. Unfortunately, this year that it's not going to work due to a couple of factors with the layout owners themselves outside of anybody's control. Yeah. So probably pause for this year and start that back up again next year.
And has anybody brought a diorama or anything in to exhibit?
So there's one regular attendee that is very fond of photographing the models, and he brings a little photo booth diorama. But we also have a T-track layout that's set up every I don't know, say every year, but we have had a T-track layout from the GSNF T-track modelers. They come in and do I think it was maybe 6 by 20-ish last year. I forget the module count, but decent little place to set up, and they'll have more space this year. Wow. I don't know how many modules total they have, but they'll have all the space they need.
And what scales are usually exhibited there?
As with most, primarily HO, but we have one S scale modeler that has been a regular attendee, numerous N scale modelers. I'm trying to remember if the O scale guy was there last year, but there's one person that has done some O scale stuff.
Mm-hmm. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the rail fanning clinic. Yeah, well, you got to do that. That'd be cool. Yeah. And there's so much stuff, man. You could do just a good sized clinic about that. So, okay. So, is this particular, is the Lundy Chapel Church attached to a hotel?
No, we've never really done the hotel thing. This is just, kind of we just found that they rented out their space and they have a gym and it's actually their youth chapel that's going to be used for the clinic room. So pretty high end AV setup in there. Wow. And we don't really advertise a specific hotel for room blocks or anything like that. We just kind of give some people some guidance on stay in these areas. You know what,
Kelly and Bruce, the mailboy, the moderately agitated mailboy.
Yes,
I think what we should do to irritate these guys over the next few years is, as every year, we'll have them come on, talk about their RPM, and see if we can make it grow to a size a size they didn't expect, because they don't have a hotel that they choose. They don't have their clinics up yet, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we got to make it. I understand, but we got to make them grow faster.
Oh, we will. Look what we did to Iron City.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Iron City is started out teeny tiny. So we're going to make you guys grow. Are you okay with that?
I'm definitely okay with that. We want it to grow, and we're just, trying to do it manageably.
Okay. So let's just go over it then. Very close to the, you're pretty close to I-75 is where this thing is. And so at Riverside Drive and I-75 is the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott, which is the closest to the Lundy Chapel. And then at Bass Road and I-75 is a Holiday Inn Express. And True by Hilton, Homewood at Suites. So there's bunches of places to go. There's a Marriott, Holiday Inn, Hampton Inn and Suites at several exits on I-75. There's tons of hotels.
Right. There lots of choices. I mean, if you got rewards status with, most of the major chains, there's going to be something in that chain, very close by for you. And, we did consider room blocks, but most of these hotels want a guaranteed number when we'd be on the hook financially for, and we just can't make that commitment, especially if we're not in the hotel for the event.
No, well, and that kind of takes the fun out of it if you guys start getting on the hook financially for a bunch of stuff. Like, I understand what you're doing. It was a small event in Savannah, but it was a well-known RPM, the Savannah RPM, and now you've moved it to Macon, and you don't want to get ahead of yourselves. You would like to make it grow, but you don't want to get ahead of yourselves. Now, will there be any vendors there? If there was, hey, Bruce.
Hello.
What about if one of the vendors was Rapido Trains?
You're fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido Torpedo trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
They go to lots and lots of RPMs. So do you have any RPM or any vendors going to be there?
Yeah, so we normally have just a few handpicked vendors. We really don't just open it up to anybody. We want it to be, very tailored to the RPM event experience. So we generally have DCC and associated parts vendor. We have one more of a general vendor, but he brings mostly paints and detail parts and high-end kits, things like that. Let's see. I think this year we're going to get another guy back that does DCC installs as well. And the name is escaping me. Is it Classic Miniatures? The car vehicle manufacturer? Is that what? I'm drawing a blank on their name, which apologies to that vendor if I've forgotten who you are. But they're supposed to be there, and we've invited some others, but due to some scheduling conflicts, not everybody that we mention it to is able to make it. But we got historical societies that show up. The Central of Georgia Historical Society is a long time regular. We hope to have like the Southern group as well, and we've invited basically any of the Southeast groups to attend as well.
We should have. We got to make this thing grow. You guys are like, like I don't think.
But Lionel, this is what you've kind of said before with a lot of these RPM guys. They kind of hide and don't really get out there and beat the bushes or bang the drums to get people in there. And you've mentioned that before, that these guys could probably do a lot better if they got out there. And
all right, well, let's have this discussion.
Made themselves better known.
Let's have this general discussion because Paul's a good guy and he won't mind. So, Paul, what do you think the general? Because I'm always fascinated by the fact that RPMs are all over the country. There is no governing body of RPMs, and yet there's so many RPMs that spring up everywhere. And not that there necessarily has to be a governing body. I mean, that would just, you don't want to add bureaucracy to the thing because that'll take the fun out of it. But do you feel like all RPMs are basically the same with the thought of, because one of the things I'm always trying to push is, it's not about your modeling ability. It's about interacting with other modelers. Is that
right?
Does that seem like...
I would agree with that. And what I would say is, this is my limited experience and just total, number of RPMs I've gone to. I've been to St. Louis and Cocoa Beach, and there was a short-lived one out of Atlanta, and then there's one in the Winston-Salem, North Carolina area that I've gone to in the past. And all of them seem to me that have just grown out of this group of friends that wanted to, get together and, learn and, grow in the hobby. And I think it just seems like they've all taken that core, starting point and just exploded from there, is what I've seen. Now, I could be totally wrong on some of the other RPMs, how they got started, but that's what I've kind of seen from the ones that I've been to. And, you've always got that core group that just, welcomes everybody else in. And, and that's the biggest thing about RPMs to me is, you're welcome. It doesn't matter what scale, what your level, you may think you're not worthy, but we assure you are, come as you are with what the models you have. They don't have to be finished, and learn. Just pick something up. You will learn.
How many people from the public show up for your RPM?
We actually, I think, had one person randomly found it online last year and showed up. But as far as just, non-interested, general public, I think that was the only time. Now, when we were in Savannah, I think we had some walk-ins just because we were in a community center for many years, and we get exclusive access for that weekend, and some people would show up not realizing it was closed for, whatever they were there for, and okay, this is cool, but not really a wide interest in just. It was
the reason I asked the question. That I went to my first RPM last year in Portland, Oregon, And it was interesting that members of the public came in, especially a father and son, and one of the exhibitors actually gave the son a train set. I mean, some of his stuff that he does. It's not a train set you could buy at a hobby shop or on
Right.
Amazon. And I thought that was really, really interesting to reach out to the young boy to give him a train set. And
Yeah, and I mean that's probably not as uncommon as you would think. I mean, maybe in the regards of a full train set, but I'll tell a story. So Bob Harp is the one that founded this, and he was a very, very big Southern modeler. I mean, that was his favorite railroad, and he loved everything about the Southern. And so he's one of the people that got me interested in the Southern. And so the very first Savannah RPM I went to, I was helping out with the setup and tear down, like I had mentioned before, and he walked up to me as we were kind of shutting the doors and everything, and he said, what's your favorite railroad? And I said Southern. And he went over to his box, one of those A-line cardboard carriers that you can buy, and he opened it up and looked for a second and pulled out one of his custom built models wrapped in a paper towel and handed it to me. He said, "Here you go." And I mean, just the simple act of that kindness show. I was between 14 and 16 at the time, so I mean, I fairly young as a modeler, and I mean, just giving that I don't know how many dozens or hundreds of hours of work went into this model. He just handed it to me and just cemented that interest.
Yeah. I think that's what the RPMs are all about, is that kind of camaraderie and sharing the ideas.
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny because RPMs, the people that run the RPMs, the Dave Owens of the world and all those types of people, the people that run them seem to be that's what they want, is the camaraderie. But there seems to be a real mental block for a lot of modelers that they're not good enough. I mean, I had to convince our very own Queso Cowboy to take something to an RPM, and it's like I don't see that. I didn't see.
We had to talk Scott into taking his model out to Long Beach.
That's right, but that was an NMRA convention. And then once he realized he could win it first place at every contest on the planet, that's all he does now. Is he's on the road. He's on the road every weekend, entering some other contest and winning some other best structure on the planet thing.
I've never experienced it firsthand, but I've heard it from more than one person that years ago there was that mentality. If you're not the absolute best of the best, top 5 modelers in the country, don't you dare come in here and put your junk on the table. That's the story I've always heard, but I've never seen anything remotely close to exclusiveness or we don't want you here. It's hey, what I see, I've never seen you here before. What you got on your bag of models there. I mean, show us what you have done. I mean, we had a young man walk in to the meet in Macon last year. He found us somewhere, but he had several models and was like, "Hey, show him." And I seem to recall he was a little hesitant to show him, display it. It's like, no, that's what we're here for. Nobody's going to, say it's, junk or anything like that. We might teach you something. You're definitely going to learn something if you ask, but display them. We want to see it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So do you take some of your own models?
I have not in several years.
Brother.
And
oh my God.
I definitely won't be
okay. I'm not,
I definitely won't be this year because they're all packed
I'm
up.
pulling the plug. I'm pulling the plug on this podcast. Are you doing this just to irritate me? Is that what's going on here? Did somebody send you here just to irritate me? Did Scott Lister send you here? Is that what's happened? Because why wouldn't you display your own models? What possible reason could you have for not taking 3 or 4 of your own? I'm sure because you're a Southern modeler, I bet you've detailed at least a couple of Southern GP7s.
No, I haven't done any locomotives, but my biggest reason is that they are packed up in an unknown location right now. So that's step number one.
Wait, why do you say unknown? You don't know where it is?
Well, it's in a 22 by 22 ish area.
Okay, so you don't know what part of the storage area it's in.
So I moved from a 1,800 square foot house with an 1,800 square foot basement and a 2-car garage to a smaller house, no basement, and a smaller garage.
Another
And all
field.
that stuff just got stacked higher and higher and higher. And
Yep.
I don't know where half of the stuff, railroading related is right now.
Wow.
I actually had set aside a model that I wanted to display on my desk at the office, and I can't find it to save my life. I set it aside.
My wife says, label the blue containers. Label the blue containers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're inside a 40 by 40 by 40 cubic foot stack of stuff. That's a lot of stuff to go through.
You know what I did when I took my layout down? I very carefully took each car and put it in one single wrap of small bubble wrap. And I laid them out on like all the hopper cars. I put on, certain hopper cars. I laid them out on and did a couple of 3 layers in one of the bins. And then on top of those layers, I put a piece of paper describing what was below in those layers. And then I stacked some more cars, some box cars or some other kind of cars on top of those, and very carefully packed them up and, put a piece of paper describing what was in that layer. And then I would probably do like a 3rd layer. But now I can't remember where the bottom layers are and what they are. It's like, because now I'm thinking to myself, well, that was stupid, because now you don't know what's in the bottom of the containers because you didn't write it on the container.
Yeah, right.
So,
may you make a suggestion, Lionel?
No, you cannot, because
No.
You're still
It's a tip.
Yeah.
It's for everybody too.
Okay, go ahead. You insist on giving me, and this had better be really clever. It better not be something like, well, what you need to do is. Do not start out with what you need to do is.
No. Do not use bubble wrap to wrap your cars.
Okay.
It will leave a lot of marks on it of the bubble.
Okay.
If they sit for too long.
Okay.
That's my tip.
How do you know?
It's happened to me.
Okay.
And I've seen other people have had the same problem.
So should I unwrap? Should I unwrap them all?
Well, if you're going to find out what's in the lower level.
What's the for too long?
I don't know the time frame, but
see, this is now, Paul.
I've read on those. It could be anywhere from 2 or 3 years to longer. But people have, I've read about this. People have pulled them out, and there's little dots all over the paint job because the bubbles.
See, this is Paul. Paul, this is classic Kelly. Don't wrap your cars in bubble wrap. Well, how long can it be? I don't know. So it could be 20 years, could be 100 years, could be 6 months. You know what, Kelly? On your behalf, Kelly, when I get back to the northern studio, I will get one of the bins, and I will start unwrapping them until I get down to a lower layer to see if there's any kind of damage whatsoever.
And at the same time, do an inventory. So you can write it on the outside.
Can I ask you a question?
He's getting bossy now, isn't he?
Yeah. Like, can I ask you I'm sorry, Paul, you have to be part of this. Can I ask you a question, Kelly?
Sure.
When you were coming from physiotherapy and you were driving from physiotherapy to your home and you thought, gee, I know Lionel's already started a podcast, but I think I'm going to go on there and just annoy the living crap out of him.
No, I didn't say it's not about annoying you, but definitely wanted to get on.
Oh, okay.
And of course, when I got do you want to get on? That was like an open invitation.
Between you and your helpful tips, and Paul and these guys not listing any of their clinics, I'm just about ready to.
I love it.
Get on that either get them on the website or get them on your Facebook page. Come on, man. People are going to want to find it. Just, okay. So here's what people need to do. If they want to see their website, which is actually very well made, and you go to centralgarpm.com. So that's central, the word central, CENTRAL, and then GA for Georgia, the state abbreviation of Georgia, and then RPM.com. Boom. And there you are. You're at the website. Or if you want to go to their Facebook page, you just go to, wait a minute, where was it? I had it here a minute ago. It's gone now. Why did it leave me? What did I do to make it leave? I did.
Central GA RPM.
I know. Oh, is that what you got? There
Central
it is.
GA RPM on Facebook.
There it is. I got it.
Yeah.
Central Georgia Railroad Prototype Modelers is the Facebook page. Central Georgia Railroad Prototype Modelers. It's a nonprofit organization in Macon, Georgia, in the United States of America. Okay, how about this? See if this works, Paul. The address, the email. Am I irritating you yet, Paul?
No, you're good.
Okay, give me another couple minutes. Info at centralgarpm.com. So if anybody has any questions, they can email you at info at centralgarpm.com. Is that correct?
They can indeed.
Now,
yes, they can.
Now, who answers these emails?
Whichever of the three of us gets to it first.
Okay, and are you getting any?
Have
you gotten any
Yes,
emails?
we've gotten several.
Okay. Probably
Have you gotten any tonight while this podcast is going on?
Not that I've seen come through on my phone, so.
Oh, okay. It's I was like, how come you don't have your clinics listed yet?
Yeah,
What's going
exactly.
on?
Yeah.
So what
not to say anybody be doing that, but
what about tables? Like, what is your guys' plan for? Say it's a banner year and you end up with over 90 people and 600 models. Do you have an unlimited supply of tables?
We have enough tables to nearly fill the gym. I don't know the exact count, but it is a church that is, set up to rent out the space for, banquets and, all that kind of stuff. And they've got tons of tables, and we actually have about 15 of our own that we can supplement if needed. And, we have no concerns about filling up the space.
How when you have the RPM like last year, how much of the space did you have available to, and how much did you fill it up?
So last year we were in a community center.
Okay.
A smaller, much cheaper venue because again, it was the first year. We didn't really know what to expect, so we were kind of hedging our bets a little bit. So we filled up basically. I would say that was 25 by 60-ish space for the main area with the T-track and model tables. And then we had, 1, 2, 3, 4 vendors and historical societies.
Yeah.
And then now we've got the entire gym, which, that's probably minimum of 40 by 60, if not bigger. Plus the entryway, for the church there. I mean, we could fit several vendors out there, and then the clinic room doesn't count because it's totally separated space.
You guys should do something about rail fanning here, because this Macon, Georgia is like a massive, massive railroad town.
Lionel, I just wrote a note to make a rail fanning guide.
There you go. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that because, like there's that huge NS yard. Then there's a yard over there. It's a huge railroading town. It's a crazy part of the whole thing. And there's plenty of restaurants right there where you're going. So, I mean, you guys are pretty much set and ready to go. Let's talk a little bit more about your own particular modeling. So, another question though. And I see you have an international airport.
Not in Macon.
No.
Well, you got an airport.
You probably don't have a customs agent, huh?
You got an airport.
Yeah, we have an airport. You can fly direct from Atlanta or Baltimore, I think, if you're in that area.
See, now that would be a problem for me flying from Atlanta. It's like an hour's drive. For crying out loud, just get in your car. Well, the only reason I say it's an international airport is because I know a guy that lives in Medford, Oregon, that's always claiming they have an international airport that can land 3 of those giant Russian planes side by side. It's very bizarre.
Boy, that would be an event to see.
You said it, not me.
No, I said they landed one of them.
You said they land them 3 at a time. Years ago, you said that. Go back and check the tape. Do you have a favorite Southern locomotive?
SD40-2.
Any SD40-2? Okay, so that's what we'll put on the cover shot for this one. Or do you have a particular favorite photograph of one of the locomotives in the show from last year? Do you take any? So you have somebody that comes and photographs a lot of the models.
Yeah, unofficially. I mean, he's just done it for years. But if you want to borrow a photo for the cover shot, the SD40-2 at the top of the website would be my suggestion.
Is that yours?
I wish that is one of Bob Harp's models.
Okay, cool.
3305, right?
Yep.
3305. And I'm assuming that was sold as part of his estate.
He did a lot of custom work like this, and a good bit of it is pending disposition. There might be some opportunities for that in the future, but most of what was sold was his detail parts and decals and paints, and he had multiple hobby shops worth of stuff in his backyard. We're not joking. We filled a 16-foot trailer, wall to wall, front to tail, at least 5 foot high of boxes of stuff, cleaning out his modeling workspace. And
Wow.
after quite a bit of work, we got all of it sold except for the locomotives.
But honestly, doesn't every model railroader have a hobby shop's worth of stuff in his basement or his outbuilding?
This is a whole nother level.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be. What was that guy's name, Bruce, years ago? Say it, don't spray it.
Oh, what's his face? Yeah, I'm trying to remember now.
We knew there was a guy in our division.
Yes.
He didn't want to stand too close to him when he was talking.
No.
Nice guy, great guy.
Great
Fun
guy, but yeah.
Yeah, you or stand off to the side. Don't stand directly in front of him.
Yeah, don't get in direct line of fire.
But when he passed away, we went into his. I'd never seen so much stuff in my life. Like, I never seen so much stuff in my. Well, we got one guy in our particular in one of our regulars here at the old AML factory who recently bought 20, count them, 20 Jeep 35s, MKT. They were Jeep 35s, weren't they?
Yeah.
There's some sort of Jeep.
Yeah, there was a Jeep 30 something. 38s, that's right. And there was some with sound. They didn't have numbers. Some had sound. It was all very messy. It was like very complicated. But anyways, he just bought 20 in one order. The guy's out of control. He's got a problem. Let's see what. Oh yeah. So let's get back to your own personal modeling to finish this thing up, and then we'll probably think of one other question to talk about the RPM, which is March 28th and 29th in the year 2025 in Macon, Georgia, home of the former Macon Whoopee hockey team of the Central Hockey League. So what is your dream layout then? Is your dream layout some sort of like what's your dream layout size?
I don't know if I'm specific to a size, but needing to fit elements into it for operational purposes. My dream would be a good representation of the Asheville yard, and then Saluda off one end, Murphy Branch on the other, and then there's two other directions. Prototypically, that's the S line. One end goes to Knoxville, the other goes to Salisbury, and the line to Salisbury has the Old Fort loops. You may be familiar with those, with the train nearly loops back on itself. And I would love to be able to model all three of those lines with one layout, which would be pretty difficult, but it would be awesome if I could fit that.
Yeah, the Southern Railway was it had so much character. And finally, it had, in 1971, it had 6,000 miles of track. Wow. Not including the Class 1 subsidiaries of the Alabama Great Southern, Central of Georgia, which was another great railroad, Savannah and Atlanta. Man, there was tons. The Southeast had tons. The Southeast has tons and tons of character. It's the home of NASCAR. It's the home of, moonshining and all sorts of things. And the railroading in that area was fabulous. So what do you do now in order to feed the appetite of model railroading? What's your go-to to keep you under control?
So right now, I've got a little fish and tackle box of core modeling tools that I keep in the drawer of my desk at work, and we have a 1 hour lunch break, and so I shut my door and pull that out, and I do some work on car projects. I've got, I don't know how many dozens of resin kits that I need to build. And so I figured, well, an hour break is more than I need to actually eat. So might as well get some work done while I'm waiting.
Well, it wouldn't hurt you to drop a couple of pounds either, eh?
It sure wouldn't.
What about at home? You don't do any modeling at home?
Well, my shrinking space kind of puts a stop to any of that. I lost a couple hundred square feet, I think, of usable space, and had to put the basement worth of stuff in the house to start with. And so my office / guest bedroom has zero space for any modeling activities. So I'm pretty much limited to what I can do at the office.
Holy moly. We got to get you got to get looking for a house and get moving and get that outbuilding built and get started on your layout.
Yeah, I'm ready, but we literally just moved a month ago. So
yeah, exactly.
It's going to be a little while still, but I think the work on cars at the office and just continuing to do the events that I enjoy, whether it be an RPM or NMRA regional, something like that, that'll keep me occupied enough.
Are you involved with the NMRA? Are you a member of the NMRA?
I am not so much involved just yet with my new division, but hoping to get more with that as I get settled in.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us about the RPM? Do we have any other questions? Good questions we can ask him about RPM?
I was just going to ask him if we've talked about this before, and other RPMs do it. Are you teaming up with the NMRA to get the insurance coverage?
No, we have not done that. It's been considered, but we've just kind of purchased our own policy, I believe, to cover that.
Okay. Can you give us a little bit of a hint what all that involved for other people that might be considering doing an RPM? Like, what did you do? Just go into your local insurance agent and said, we need insurance for, or like, how did you guys get insurance for your RPM? Or did you get insurance for your RPM?
I know it was discussed. I was not involved in the acquisition of that policy. Stephen is in charge of that one. So he must have talked to his agent. I mean, they're not expensive at all to get a little $1 million event policy. We just, with the local division in Macon, it was probably easier for us to just go at our own. So,
meaning the local division's hard to deal with?
They're more interested in other activities.
Wow.
I'm so like, are they? Well, they'll come around. They got to come around because they're going to miss out on it if they don't.
I mean, I'm not speaking for in any individual member, but and I'm not also the one that's had direct dealings with them, but I know that I think overall it's more of a they do their thing and that's kind of what they like.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's upset. That's upset. Okay, now here's another thing. Oh, boy, you guys are just irritating the living crap out of me.
We do our best.
Yeah, I appreciate that. If you're going to do it, you might as well do a good job.
Yeah.
There is something actually called the rpmconference.com. There's actually a website called rpmconference.com. I don't understand why RPMs, not yours, but I don't understand why RPMs in general are trying to stay below the radar and not being much more like, they don't need to have a governing body, but if they could at least have two guys going, hey, over here, like here's something called the rpmconference.com. And if you go to RPM events, there's the Prototype Rails and Cocoa. They have all the events for this year. Prototype Rails and Cocoa Beach. The next one is the RPM Valley Forge in March. The RPM East in Pittsburgh. Our Railroad Modelers Retreat in Twin Cities in Plymouth, Minnesota. Like, you guys aren't listed on that either, and you've probably never even heard of it.
Is this the site that Eric Hansman runs?
No. That's a whole different thing. And I bet you he doesn't even know about you guys.
No, Eric's got us on his. We've been communicating with him for a few years now. But, yeah, I'm looking that up now. I don't think I've actually seen the RPM conference website before.
I don't know. I'm not sure how we stumbled onto it. We were talking to somebody, and somebody pointed at who was the last person we were talking to about RPM. I think it
Would
was
have been, Dave Owens.
might have been. But anyways, I was bemoaning of the fact that RPMs weren't more organized. It might have been when we were interviewing Dave Owens and Eric Hansman. And one of them pointed out there's this thing called rpmconference.com. And it's supposed to be a website trying to organize RPMs. And I think it'd be great if they could get themselves a little bit more organized, because it's like you said, Bruce, it seems like they're trying to hide from the public almost.
Yeah. And, it's the type of thing of they're purporting to be welcoming to all and open arms and all that, but trying to find them so they can welcome you is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think you guys are going to grow, because you guys obviously have the right idea where you just want people to come by, enjoy that's the beauty of RPMs. I think the general overall topic of RPMs is the overall underlying current of RPMs is to just enjoy the hobby without all the bureaucracy of the NMRA, which seems like you've already run into. So yeah, I think you guys are on the right track. Get those clinics listed and you're off to the races. How can you guys not have your clinic list all set and ready to go just a mere 8 weeks from when you open the doors?
I will be sure to ask that question of the clinic chair.
Okay. Because next year you're going to be on again. Probably we'll try to get you on a little more earlier in January or in December. And you're going to be grilled again. So you're going to need to, this is going to go on year after year. So you're going to need to be prepared.
I will make sure I note the timeline. I need to get the clinics lined up before I talk to Lionel.
There you go.
That boy.
All right. And make sure you have plenty of Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's L, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
On hand for everybody to enjoy.
Can I maybe make a suggestion? Once he knows what his clinics are and the dates for the next one, he throws a post up on the Fans of a Modeler's Life Facebook page.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, put as much on the fans page as you want. We encourage you to advertise as much as you want on the Fans of the Modeler's Life page. Please,
I will do that for sure.
Please utilize that.
And if anybody wants to be the first to know when it comes out, if you go to our website, there is an email list sign up where you can put your email in, and that's where it's announced first. So you can stay up to date the easiest by joining that list.
Okay, so when they go to your website, how do they join the email list? Because I don't see it on the
the main page.
At the bottom.
Down,
at the bottom.
To the bottom under the picture of the beautiful Central of Georgia RS3.
Is that your Central of Georgia RS3?
Again, I wish.
That's a beautiful locomotive.
It is. That is beautiful.
Beautifully detailed. Do you know whose it is?
That would be Bob's.
Bob's. These are all. Go ahead.
Yes, all the locomotives on the site are Bob's.
What's the one on the bottom? The black and yellow one. Very, very Western Maryland-ish.
On the sign.
Yeah.
That's a Macon, Dublin, and Savannah locomotive.
Oh, okay.
The local short line that's now the Georgia Central.
Oh, okay, cool. Very cool.
Can't be RS units, though. Eh?
What's that?
You can't beat old RS units like that.
RS ones. There you go. It's all about the RS one. That's the coolest.
I like the RS3s.
Yeah, I don't really remember asking you.
I'm just saying.
See, if I was asking you, what you would have probably heard was, "Hey, Kelly, what do you think of the RS3 as opposed to the RS1?" But you didn't hear that. You just heard me saying, "I like the RS1."
And
Do you put ketchup on your hot dog?
No.
There you go. Now we're getting somewhere. Hey, Paul.
Yes,
can I ask you this question?
Sure.
After the age of 8, should you put ketchup on your hot dog?
I do, so.
Oh,
attaboy.
God.
Oh.
Oh, my God.
An independent, free spirit thinking guy.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Springfield Train Show?
I have not, but I would love to get up there one year.
You need to do that because it's an experience you cannot possibly put into words.
Yeah,
I would come just for the cheese balls.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So what happened this year? there was a whole lot of confusion before we started. So our buddy Scott Lister, the same guy that went took his own time and his own machinery and his own gas and his own fuel and all that, and went up to help people in North Carolina. Help the people in distress in North Carolina, which were great. We're just so proud of him that he did that. But he also made us. We handed out cheese balls at in front of our booth at Springfield. And our booth is made up of 4 tables. There's 2 tables for Modeler's Life. The third table is always a guest that we have. This year it was the Iron City N-Track guys. And then the 4th table is Dave Abelese featuring the Onondaga Cutoff. So what happened was we decided, so Scott Lister, our pal Scott, he made us trays so that we could be out in front of the booth. And we had bowls of cheese balls, and then we had these little tongs that we could hand out cheese balls without touching them. So these little plastic tongs, and you picked up a cheese ball and you handed it to somebody. Boom, like that. It was a perfect setup. But then all of a sudden, Chris Costello said, "Hey, I got a whole bunch of plastic cups. Should I bring them?" And a bunch of the guys went, "Yeah." And I'm thinking to myself, what do we need plastic cups for? And the next thing I know, our very own Queso Cowboy says, "Well, I'm going to go down to the store and see if check out about getting a whole bunch of paper cups and stuff like that. So for dispensing the cheese balls." And I'm thinking to myself, what is he doing that for? We were going to have them in a bowl, and we were going to use our little plastic tongs to hand them out. So then what happened is we got in a big fight, and we just started throwing cheese balls at each other. It was a mess. The whole thing just deteriorated.
And the professor
There's a big orange cloud.
There's a big orange cloud in the back of the Better Living Center.
got orange on them.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody had.
John Sacerdote came over shaking his head.
Yeah, and he said, "Yeah, enough of this."
And then what's his name? The professor had he had that bunny, that Playboy bunny outfit on. It was just
He didn't have a Playboy bunny outfit. Why did you?
thought he did.
No, he didn't. He just keeps taking his shirt off. It's really disgusting.
That's even worse.
Right now, Paul's thinking to himself, "Why am I here?"
Well, I'll tell you, if I was closer to Georgia, I would definitely go to this RPM.
Good.
Definitely go.
And they might even have you. All right,
That's
We would
that's it.
definitely have you.
All right, that's it. Kelly, give out our email address.
Yes, if you want to reach us by the wonders of email, you can reach us at modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modeler with 1 L like Paul, but not 2 L's like Spilman, with the second L being invisible.
Holy jeez.
Jeez. Why are the you had it? You nailed it. That's 1 L. That's one. No, here. This is what you needed to say. This is what you needed to say.
Ooh.
Here's the email address: modelerslife@gmail.com. Modelerslife@gmail.com. There's no way. Modelerslife@gmail.com. That's 1 L like Paul, not 2 L's like Spilman. And then you stop talking.
Oh, okay. It would have been better. It would have been Central Georgia and not 2 L's like Paul Spilman,
What's wrong with 1 L like Paul, not 2 L's like Spilman?
because he doesn't have 2 L's in his name,
Don't you?
his last name.
Nope, 1 L.
I knew
1
that.
L.
I knew that.
So I could have done Central Georgia, 1 L in Central Georgia, not 2 L's like Paul Spilman.
Oh, well, you could have done that, but you didn't. All you did was create more. All you did was create more more unhappiness and dissent amongst the people in the room.
You have caused chaos and confusion.
Yes, it caused chaos and confusion. Exactly.
At this point, I'm confused how many L's are in my name.
Yeah, there you go. See? Look at that. I apologize. Paul, I apologize to be part of it. Okay, so it's the Central of Georgia RPM meet. It is in Macon, Georgia on March the 28th and 29th. And it's $30 at the door for both days. It's on Friday and Saturday, correct?
Correct.
You're going to meet either Paul, Ken, or what's the other guy's name?
Steven.
Yeah, when you see Paul, just tell him Lionel sent you. See if that helps. And
Price went up $5.
yeah, price goes up $5, and that's it. It's going to be a great. There's plenty of restaurants. There's plenty of hotels. There's plenty of everything right there in the area. It's going to be a great event. and you guys are going to have fun, and everybody's going to have fun, and then we're going to have you back on, and you're going to tell us how it went last year and what to expect next year, and yada, yada, yada. And then next year when we're talking, we'll be able to get an update on your model railroading progress.
I hope to have a good progress report on that in a year's time.
Do either of these guys, Ken and Steven, do they have layouts?
Yes. Ken has I think he calls it his museum layout. He just said, this is a museum that has a lot of track and I can run whatever I want. And Steven models a branch of the Southern out in, I guess you'd consider that East Georgia.
I bet modeling the Southern is very popular in that area.
Yeah, I would say so.
That and Central of Georgia. Central of Georgia had a cool paint scheme. It was great for weathering. That's it. We're done. Okay, so we've done the email address. And if you missed the email address, if you go to our website, amodellerslife.com, and scroll down and click on the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, all you do is click on the picture and boom, the email address comes up. And all you got to do is put in your text and hit send, and we get an email. And we love emails, pro and con. If there's something you don't like about the show, write in and tell us. And if there's something you do like about the show, write in and tell us. And if there's something about Kelly that's irritating the crap out of you, definitely write in and tell us.
Yeah, it's up to HR.
Yeah, it's up to HR. Let's see, what else do we have to tell them? Oh, yeah. Paul, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
I have indeed.
Well, if you go to Midwest Model, where do you buy most of your model railroad supplies?
Lately, it's been eBay.
Okay. What about your tools and hobby supplies? Like that's where you buy them, is eBay?
I check eBay for a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right. Anybody in particular on eBay?
Whoever's cheapest.
All right. There you go. So if you go to Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com, and scroll across the navigation bar to other and hit the drop down menu. Boom, you're in the AML shop, and in there you're in a wonderland of AML merchandise: hats, hoodies, T-shirts, hoodies or mugs, whatever you could possibly need. And in there you'll find a T-shirt with a hot dog on it. And our very own Brad, the professor, has 4 of those shirts. So there you go. They're a collector's item. Unless you want to go buy one, then they're not so much a collector's item. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. And if you like this podcast, and so Paul, you listen to this podcast occasionally, I understand.
I do.
And if you like the free channel on Monday, on Tuesday, for just a few cents a day, you can have twice as much podcasting every week by joining our Patreon channel. And there's also a link to that on our website. And on our Patreon channel, it's a little more earthy. It's kind of like hanging out with the guys that are at the bar at the at the end of the day after a long day of RPMing. You know, a bunch of guys will hang out together at the hotel lobby or something. It's like hanging out with your buddies at the local bar or something like that. It's just a little bit let your hair down kind of stuff. And we do viewer mail and fireside chats and all that kind of stuff over there. And then if you move up to the T-shirt level, and the Patreon website, then you're entered into the Hey Dude, Where's My Shirt contest. And basically what happens is every year you get a new T-shirt that's only available to Patreon members. And it's like from year one to 5 is a whole bunch of, it's a different shirt. And then year 6, you start all over again, because by then you've worn out the one from year 1, and you're going to need to replace that one. And so then it's, hey, dude, where's my shirt? Because the guy that's in charge of sending out the shirts, he's a nice guy, but basically useless. So you get your shirt. We just don't know when you get your shirt. And that's the excitement of the contest. I think that's it, isn't it, Bruce?
Let's see. Yes. Yeah. All the boxes are checked.
All right. I think we're going to do this we'll do this as just a show, not an episode, but just a show, because it's more about the RPM, more about advertising the RPM than it is about the individual modeler. So at the appropriate moment, I'm going to ask you a question and we need you to answer it.
Okay.
All right. So remember, A Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10.
Rivet counters.
Modeler's Life is sponsored by Because I Love Sushi, with 7 convenient locations in the greater Busted Knuckle area.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
Perfect. Rivet counter.
Nice.
Very
Yeah.
good.
That came right. I think he was ready for that.
I was ready for that one.
Are you a rivet counter?
No.
All right, attaboy. Although it's rivet
I
counter,
sus-
it's rivet counters that give us all the great models that all these companies are manufacturing. It's kind
Very
of
much so.
It's kind of an oxymoron. Rivet counters are kind of annoying as a whole, but if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be getting these spectacular models that the manufacturers are turning out.